Hello and welcome to another adventure here on my channel. You can think of this video as my official application to be considered part of LeftTube because today we're going to be talking about the Billionaire space race. And I want to start by reading this tweet from Jamila Jamil, who is an amazing activist and the actress who plays Tahani on The Good Place. So she said, guys, so which billionaire got to be the first in space? Oh, wait, don't tell me. I don't fucking care. It doesn't fucking matter. Fuck these guys. Good night. And while I agree with the energy of this tweet, I do disagree that it doesn't matter because I think this whole thing matters in the way a plane crash matters, in that it's a tragedy, people got hurt, and we need to figure out how and why this happened so we can prevent it from happening again in the future. And saying this hurt people and that we should prevent it from happening in the future may seem extreme. It may seem like, why does it matter that much? It's just some guys spending their money how they want. Maybe even it's a good thing to get people to be able to travel into space. Why am I already getting heated just in the intro of this video when I haven't even really presented much information yet about why I dislike this topic so much? Well, in order to properly explain that, and before I get into the article I'm going to be reading you, because this is going to be one of those videos where I read you an article and give my commentary and thoughts about it as we go, I need to explain a very basic economics concept first. And this is not a leftist economics concept. This is not a Marxism thing. This is basic economics. When I took my Econ 101 class, the only economics class I have taken in college, that is where I learned this information. To really get into this and to see why this upsets me so much, you have to understand that it is not there are rich people and there are poor people. It is there are rich people because there are poor people. And there are poor people because there are rich people. It is a cause and effect relationship because that's how economics works. As a species, humanity, we only have a finite amount of resources. We can only make so much stuff. We can only do so many things. We can only have so much. We are limited by resources. And as a society, we have decided that the way we are going to distribute those resources is with money. Money is the thing that functions to give each of us the power to dictate how certain resources are spent. So by me purchasing the materials to make this iced coffee, the milk, the honey, everything I put in this, all of those materials, I said, I want that to be made by purchasing it. I said that I want to direct those resources into this coffee. And I did that with my money by purchasing it. So the land that grew the plant that produced the coffee bean that went into my coffee, that land couldn't go towards something else. It was not used to grow corn, perhaps, or something else. It was used to grow coffee because there is a market for that. And that's what many people say they want those resources to go into. And we do this every day. Every single thing we buy or purchase, we are saying, I want the resources that this took to make this thing. Because if we didn't demand it as the consumer, then the stores and the manufacturing wouldn't happen to make that item. So imagine for simplicity's sake that all of human resources come down to $100. That this $100 represents all of humanity's resources, every single thing that we can do. So there's only $100 worth of stuff. Now, if the Earth's population was 100 people, again, just a nice round number to make it simple, then we could split up those resources equally. We could give each person $1, one of those $100, and they would each have equal say in how our resources are spent. However, under our current economic system of capitalism, it is not equal. It's not an even distribution. So say one guy, Jeff Bezos, one of those 100 people, Jeff Bezos, has $50. That means that the other 99 only have $50 left to split between them. If Jeff Bezos didn't have those $50, they could be split more equitably. And let's say that instead of the other $50 being equally divided between the other 99 people, there were 10 people that had $20. So the rest of the people only have $30 between them. The more people that have more than their fair share, the less there is for everybody else, or the more that a small group has, the less there is for everybody else. I hope this metaphor is making sense and helping you understand how this principle works, that basically rich and poor is a causal relationship. That's what I'm trying to say. And I hope that makes sense. So with that in mind, with the fact that there are rich people because there are poor people, and there are poor people because there are rich people in mind, because that's just how capitalism works. That's just how economics works in mind. Let's take a look at this billionaire space race, because these guys with an unequitable, a rather large share of the pie of power to dictate how humanity uses our resources, are deciding this is how they're going to do it. All right, I'm gonna scoot on over, and this article is from the Washington Post, ironically owned by Jeff Bezos, and it's called Billionaires in Space, the Launch of a Dream or Just Out of This World Ego. The last time we watched rich boys and their toys going mano a mano was back in the aughts, when Microsoft's Paul Allen and Oracle's Larry Ellison tussled over who had the biggest private yacht in the world. After Allen commissioned his 416-foot super yacht, Octopus, Ellison added an extension to his rising sun, bringing it to 452 feet in length. Size matters. But now the billionaire battle is for space. I'll bet short, suborbital flights. Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, announced he would fly in his Blue Origin's New Shepard spacecraft on July 20th. This was written before Bezos actually launched, obviously. Then Richard Branson decided that he would take an hour-long jaunt on his Virgin Galactic VSS Unity spaceplane 9 days earlier. He came, he floated in zero gravity, he conquered. And it had nothing to do with ego or any kind of billionaire rivalry. Branson insisted, "I know everyone expects me to say yes," he said on Wednesday on The View, and then he felt compelled to add, "I hate the word billionaire. I started with 200 pounds. You hate the word billionaire? Well, I have an easy solution for people to stop calling you a billionaire. Give some of your money to charity. Give enough money to charity that you're no longer a billionaire, and then bam, problem solved. You will no longer be called a billionaire." Now, Elon Musk, founder of SpaceX, has bought a ticket on Branson's rocket, according to news reports, and they can afford it. These three space musketeers bring a collective net worth of almost $400 billion to their out-of-this-world side hustles. So I went and looked up how much each of these guys is worth. So Jeff Bezos, being the richest, has $209.2 billion, billion with a B. And I would like to take a second to remind you of the difference between a million and a billion, because our brains tend to conceptualize them as sort of close to each other. They seem similar enough because they sound similar. A million seconds is 12 days. A billion seconds is 31 years. That is the difference we're talking about here. We're not talking about millionaires, because millionaires, they're still rich. They can buy a nice fancy house, some nice cars, and not really have to worry about money for the rest of their lives, probably as long as they don't do something really stupid. Billionaires is a disgusting level of wealth when you keep in mind the cause and effect relationship I talked about at the beginning of this video. The fact that they have so much wealth is directly causal to the fact that so many on Earth have so little. So just keep that in mind. 209.2 billion USD is how much Bezos is worth. Elon Musk is worth 160.1 billion, and then poor Richard Branson, he only has 4.7 billion USD. I know, he's so poor in comparison to the other guys. It's a disgusting amount of money. Even Richard Branson, disgusting. Because here's some comparison for you. According to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, it would cost $20 billion to end homelessness in the United States. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, they could end homelessness in the United States today, and they would still be multi-billionaires. Both of them have the ability to do that and still have over $100 billion. But still, just a little comparison of these individuals' wealth versus what they could do with it. I also found this great meme that's "End child hunger, launch self into space." Oh no, How could anyone make such a decision? Anyway, I can't stand greed. I cannot stand greed. Anyway, to their fans, the promise of expanding our reach beyond this planet is thrilling. For critics, the money poured into private vanity projects is unforgivable when there is so much to be done right here on Earth. And I'm one of those critics, if you couldn't tell. This race has only deepened the divide between those who love to see the very rich launch into space and those who wish they would never come back. Branson, worth an estimated $5 billion, got dragged all over social media when he mused after his flight, "Imagine a world where people of all ages, all backgrounds from anywhere, of any gender or any ethnicity, have equal access to space. And they will, in turn, I think, inspire us back here on Earth." That's a good dream, if it would happen. But that's not what capitalism does. Because how is all of humanity supposed to have equal access to outer space when not everyone on Earth has equal access to clean water? And by the way, I looked this up. The price of safe water for all is $10 billion, and the will to provide it. So yeah, from that New York Times article where the 10 billion figure comes from is this. 40% of the world's 6 billion people still lack sanitation, though it could easily be provided, according to a United Nations report issued today. More than 1 billion people lack the most basic water supply, and the study backed by the World Health Organization and the United Nations Children's Fund. "It's not a question of cost, but of priority," said Richard Jolly, chairman of the Water Supply and Sanitation Collaborative Council, sponsored by the World Health Organization. "Bringing water and sanitation to all would cost $10 billion a year," Mr. Jolly said. "That," he added, "is 1/10 what Europe spends on alcoholic drinks each year, about the same as Europe spends on ice cream, and half of what the United States spends each year on pet food." But yeah, Richard Branson, equal access to space. Sure. Branson failed to note that a ticket on one of Galactic's flights currently goes for $250,000. More than 600 people have already signed up. And then this is in the Washington Post article. It's this great tweet from The Onion that says, "Study finds 70% of Americans have less than $1,000 saved to go to space." What is a mere mortal to make of billionaires in space? It depends on how you feel about the Montgolfier brothers, the Wright brothers, NASA, the moon landing, Star Trek, Star Wars, Buzz Lightyear, income inequality, tax breaks for the very rich, Space Force, and the right stuff. See, here's the thing about them including Star Trek. Star Trek existed in a post-scarcity world. They could provide for everyone, and they did. And then they went into space. That's very different than this current situation. But here's the thing about billionaires. They don't really care what we think. 2 years ago, business writer Jeffrey James identified key beliefs of the super rich in his story, How to Think Like a Billionaire for Inc.com. Self-made billionaires tend to believe that life is a meritocracy and that they've become rich because they're superior to everyone else, wrote James. That leads to unlimited confidence. The undeniable fact that they can buy just about anything they want becomes conflated into the belief that they can accomplish anything they want. And I would have less of a problem with that if they actually wanted to accomplish anything noble, anything besides vanity projects, besides just hoarding and hoarding more wealth for themselves. Like I said, they could provide drinking water, safe drinking water, to the world. They don't. They could end homelessness in America. They don't. The amount of charity that these people do is pitiful. Pitiful in comparison to their money, to their fortunes, to what they spend their money on. The money that went into these space programs, because they're not programs, they're companies, these space companies, could have done so much good. And we could have NASA scientists working on space. Like, we have a space program. We have NASA for a reason. These space companies are for the good of their CEOs, of their investors, of the rich. But I digress. Let's return to the article. Billionaires are less concerned about breaking rules, partially because they can buy their way out of trouble, but more because they believe every successful entrepreneur ignores conventional wisdom and how they're perceived in the moment. Their focus is almost always on the future. And what says future more than rocket science? I don't know, man, maybe still having an Earth in the future by doing something about climate change. Like, there's some science you could invest in. And it's actually, at this point, not so much about the science, because we have the science. It's just the will to actually implement it. West Coast is on fire. The ocean is literally on fire. Maybe they should get on that, like, now. That would say future. That would say future. Branson is the jokester who made a fortune in music, media, trains, planes, and, he hopes, space travel with Virgin Galactic, which he founded in 2004. He wants to see people in space because, well, it's fun, and everyone should get the chance to experience it. The goal is a company that will transport passengers to floating hotels or labs or on supersonic transcontinental flights. Bezos, by contrast, has had a lifelong fascination with space. I never want to dismiss the role that ego, vanity, or competitive instincts are playing in all of these things, said Brad Stone, author of Amazon Unbound, Jeff Bezos and the Invention of a Global Empire. But Bezos grew up reading science fiction and watching space launches with his grandfather, who worked at the Atomic Energy Commission. In his high school valedictorian speech, the future billionaire outlined his vision. Space, the final frontier. Meet me there. You know, I am a huge fan of sci-fi. I love science fiction. It is probably my favorite genre. My papa loves sci-fi. I kind of grew up watching it too. And I don't know how Jeff Bezos managed to grow up loving the genre and just completely miss the point of it so bad. Like, a lot of science fiction is used to critique current society. Whatever the current society is, sci-fi is usually used to critique it, because if you're looking at an alien world or space travel or something like that, you can step back and have a different perspective that you can't have when you're in it so much. The stories, as much as they're about aliens and spaceships and all of the fun sci-fi things, any good sci-fi is not really about that. It is always social commentary. Battlestar Galactica, the best TV series ever made. I will stand by that. It is phenomenal. The 2005 reboot, perfection. Yes, it's about Cylons and the human race on these spaceships and space fights, but it's not really about that. And I would not say that it is the best series ever made, the best TV series ever made, if it was just about that. It is about so much more, and thinking about what makes humanity good, what we could do for each other, what makes humanity bad, how we can stop doing those things. And Bezos is literally a supervillain, like blasting rockets into space. You are the richest man on Earth, and you're a sci-fi fan, and this is what you do with your money? Pathetic. Fake fan. Fake geek boy. His admiration for Star Trek's Captain Picard is well known, but he was more influenced by physicist Gerard O'Neill, who foresaw space stations orbiting Earth to house humans as life on Earth becomes untenable. Bezos is pursuing this as his personal passion, not just to go to space himself, but to build successful businesses in space, just like he built a successful business on the internet, says Stone. Yeah, because that's what I want. Capitalism in space. Because the only way Jeff Bezos was able to amass so much money that he could afford to do this is by exploiting his workers. It's by underpaying his workers and taking as much profit from them as he possibly can. Because if all of his workers were paid the amount of value they add to Amazon as a company, he would not make money because the workers would be getting that excess profit, not him. Because he, as the CEO, doesn't add a whole lot of value to the company. At least not anymore. He founded it, he added a lot of value at first, but I would argue he does not add $209 billion worth of value to that company, especially when people at his company are not making a living wage, not even a thriving wage in like one of the most successful companies of all time, but at least a living wage, no benefits, paid time off, maternity leave, like just basic things they should have for being workers. And I am not a socialist. I do not believe in pure socialism. I'm okay with Jeff Bezos making a profit from his company, but this level of profit, this level of value extraction from the people who actually create the value of Amazon is disgusting. It is disgusting. And here's the thing, even Jeff Bezos knows who really paid for his little trip to space. Let me show you a clip and Stephen Colbert's commentary on the clip because it's hilarious.
I want to thank every Amazon employee and every Amazon customer, because you guys paid for all of this. So
it's funny because he doesn't pay taxes or his employees.
He doesn't pay his employees well, he doesn't pay his fair share of taxes, and he knows this. And I feel like someone in the comments is going to say, well, Jeff Bezos creates jobs, and if those jobs don't pay high enough, then go get an education or go get a different job and move up the ladder, do all that. And I just want to say, if your jobs don't support people, like if you don't pay a living wage, then you are not a job creator, you are a poverty exploiter. And that people saying, well, these people can just pick themselves up by the bootstraps, clearly have never experienced poverty or understand it at all. And he is the richest man on earth. And that's why he got there. He is not underpaying his Amazon workers and not paying his taxes, and he just happens to be the richest man on earth. It is a causal relationship again. Oh my gosh, I found this amazing meme right here. That's the Jeff Bezos quote. I want to thank every Amazon employee and every Amazon customer because you guys paid for this. And it's like a fake book cover of Karl Marx Capital Volume 1. Beautiful. Whoever made this, beautiful. And I will get back to the Washington Post article, I promise, but I just want to read you this post that has gone kind of viral off of someone's Facebook page because I think it's just so perfect and I want to share it with you because I so agree with it. I have never given Jeff Bezos a moment's thought before this week. I am always interested in extraordinary achievement and often admire it. I am fascinated by what extraordinary achievers understand and how evolved they are as people. Looking at him in his astronaut costume and his cowboy hat and his Omega Speedmaster moon watch, coming out of his penis craft, being greeted by his ling-cod-lipped girlfriend dripping in oversized diamonds, I saw a man completely without a sense of irony. Not a man aware that he has been entrusted with the greatest fortune in human history to benefit all of humanity, but a small narcissistic buffoon, unaware that the universe is 10 billion light years wide and he had just spent 5 billion to fly 60 miles through it so the whole world could look at him at once and see what a truly small man he is, and hear his Kermit the Frog voice declare that his big plan is to pollute space. It may be Musk who ultimately wins the billionaire space race. Elon started SpaceX from a very different place than Branson and Bezos and their retrospective aerospace companies, says Ashley Vance, author of Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, and the Quest for a Fantastic Future. He had zero interest in space tourism. His interest was always more around deeper exploration of the solar system. Musk feels, the author adds, like the human species could be wiped out and that we need a backup plan on Mars or somewhere else. Bezos shares the same worries but focuses on infrastructure orbiting Earth. Okay, so they're doing this because of climate change, because they're aware that we are killing our planet, that our planet is boiling alive because of us. So instead of using their fortunes to do anything to actually make an impact to perhaps prevent or start to heal this catastrophe, instead they're like, fuck it, rich people to space. Because let's be honest, the entirety of humanity is not going to go to Mars. It would just be, if this happened, if this even happened, the people who could afford to.
They're only giving tickets out to the wealthy!
What did I just say about sci-fi? That it is critique and commentary of our current reality, because we all know that's exactly what would happen in this scenario. So instead of putting their resources and fortunes toward actually helping all of humanity, they're like, this is bad, so rich people, space. And actively exacerbating the problems while they try to get the rich people into space. Because shooting rockets into space has consequences, has environmental impact. I've been trying to learn more about the science of it, and I don't fully understand the exact impact these rocket launches have on our atmosphere. But from what I do understand, it not only has to do with burning the fuel to shoot a rocket into space, but the fact that the emissions are let out very high up, that they specifically damage the ozone layer because they're closer to the ozone layer when they're emitted. This particular article about the science of it, I'll have linked down below, but just the snippet says, these gases and particles have many negative effects on the atmosphere. In the stratosphere, nitrogen oxides and chemicals formed from the breakdown of water vapor convert ozone into oxygen, depleting the ozone layer which guards life on Earth against harmful UV radiation. Water vapor also produces stratospheric clouds that provide a surface for the reaction to occur at a faster pace than it otherwise would. But no, what we need to do totally isn't to handle the situation on Earth and do our best to stop climate change and mitigate damage and help people whose lives are going to have to change drastically because of it. We need to shoot rockets off and make it worse. Great plan. 10 out of 10. Famed astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson is supportive of anything that gets people excited about the cosmos, but he also believes that governments are better suited for long-term exploration priorities and investment. Private enterprise will never lead a space frontier, Tyson said in a 2015 interview with BGR. It's expensive, it's dangerous, you have uncertainty and risks because you're dealing with things that haven't been done before. Los Angeles Times columnist Michael Hiltzik, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, was more blunt earlier this month. The competition to be the first billionaire in space should mark a milestone in the towering vanity of the wealthy, he wrote. Let's promptly dispense with the notion that any of these flights will add anything to our scientific knowledge, unless it's the establishment of a new metric for how long it takes for money to burn a hole in your pocket when you have more than you could possibly need. Hiltzik, a self-described science and space geek, argues that Bezos and Musk are misguided in focusing on a plan B for a broken Earth. Answers to global warming and disease are still much more accessible than fleeing Earth for space. The dream of interplanetary travel and colonization is the dream of school children, and it's time that the billionaires grew up. Still, if billionaires want to spend their fortunes blasting off into space, is it anyone else's business? American conservatives and libertarians say no, arguing that private companies create jobs and eliminate wasteful government spending. Liberals are angry and disappointed that billionaires have not spent more of their vast fortunes on terrestrial problems, hunger, healthcare, education, and much more. I 100% agree that people who are in positions of wealth should spend most of their money, 90% or more of their money, trying to tackle these issues, Branson told the Today Show Wednesday. But we should also create new industries that can create 800 engineers and scientists who can create wonderful things that can make space accessible at a fraction of the environmental cost that it's been in the past. You think that, do you? Do you, Richard Branson? That rich people should spend 90% or more of their wealth to actually help people? Let's take a look. Let's take a look at your charitable giving, which it was more than I expected. I will give him that. But what I found was that he has pledged to commit $3 billion, all profits from his travel firms over the next 10 years, to the reduction of global warming. He has previously donated to educational charities in Africa. Branson started his first charity, Student Valley Center, when he was only 17. If he goes through with it, I'm happy about that. However, that is not what he said. Because if you look at, he has pledged to commit $3 billion, and you look at the fact that he has like 4.7 billion, whatever I said at the beginning, 4 point something billion, you would think that's great. That is so much money. But there's a little caveat there. He's not saying he's going to donate $3 billion of what he currently already owns. He's saying, you know what? I'm going to keep this money, but any money from these that I make in the future, that I'll donate. Which maybe he will, maybe he won't. Even if he does, that's still not what he said. And if he's going to come out here and say, I should be allowed to increase the speed of which our Earth is burning by launching rockets because I donate 90% of my money to charity, and then he doesn't donate 90% of his money to charity, that's an issue. And I know there's going to be some people who say in the comments, well, he's going to donate that $3 billion. That's amazing. Why shouldn't he keep what he already has? Because, again, he can never spend that much money. He does not need it. The amount of wealth he is hoarding to get to the point where he's like, well, now I'll donate my profits is insane and actively harmful to the rest of the human race. And again, if he was a multi-millionaire, fine. Have your big house, have your fancy cars, have your designer, whatever. But the difference between someone having millions of dollars and billions of dollars is so extreme, it is immoral. Even if he gives $3 billion to charity, even then. In a statement, Virgin Galactic said such accessibility will be an overall benefit to society. The experience of space travel can hopefully lead to a changed perspective that will benefit the Earth. Blue Origin and SpaceX did not respond to questions about their founders' investment in space versus charitable giving. You know, somehow I don't think that shooting rich people into space is gonna make them suddenly give a shit about other people. Just saying, because so far, Branson and Bezos have done it. You know, I guess it's not that big of a difference after all. Senator Bernie Sanders tweeted a version of what hundreds more expressed. Here on Earth, in the richest country on the planet, half our people live paycheck to paycheck. People are struggling to feed themselves, struggling to see a doctor, but hey, the richest guys in the world are off in outer space. Yes, it's time to tax the billionaires. And here is a wonderful tweet that's America in one photo. Billionaire space race. Millions of Americans facing eviction. 20 billion. Solve the homelessness problem. The billions that Bezos and Musk pour into space might, under a different tax code, have gone into the federal coffers. Personally, Bezos paid about 1% in taxes from 2014 to 2018, and Musk paid just over 3%, according to a study released by ProPublica in June. IRS records show wealthiest Americans, including Bezos and Musk, paid little in income taxes as share of wealth, report says. And if you think critics or anything else will stop Bezos from strapping onto a rocket into space Tuesday, you don't know Jeff. Bezos has this conviction that when you do big things, people aren't going to understand it, and you've got to remain firm to your long-term vision, says Stone. And he believes this is a form of philanthropy. That by building this company and helping to usher in like a new space age, he will be helping humanity generations from now. To infinity and beyond, or maybe just a quick spin above Earth. If we continue to destroy our planet, there's not going to be humanity generations from now. That's the cut and dry of it. And it is nothing but self-delusion to think that this is anything other than a vanity project. It is self-delusion to think he is helping literally anyone except himself. All of these guys are disgusting in the amount of wealth they're hoarding. And I know someone is going to say, you're just jealous. You just wish it was you. You just wish you had that much money. And I'm going to answer that here in the video because then I know if someone comments that they didn't watch it all the way to the end. But no. The things I am jealous of that they have don't cost billions and billions of dollars. I am jealous of their stability. I am jealous that if one of their loved ones gets sick, they don't have to consider making the choice between crippling debt for the rest of their life or letting their loved one die. And that's just the reality of it. That's just the reality of what living in America is because of our shit healthcare system, our for-profit healthcare system, because our whole system as a country puts profit above human life. I'm jealous that they could move anywhere in the world they wanted. That'd be nice. I thought about this before filming this video. I thought about if I had all the money in the world, if I had their wealth, if I could do anything, what would I do? And I would move to either LA or Vancouver, a city where I could pursue my acting career. I would move there with my mom, and either I would get a couple apartments close together or I would buy her a house with enough space in the backyard that I could put my own tiny house, and I would custom build my own tiny house and wouldn't have to worry about bills or food or anything like that. And I'd have a little more spending money than I do now. You know, I would get Botox twice a year regularly because I really like doing that. I might buy some expensive eyeshadow palettes. I think it'd be nice to have like a plaid Burberry coat. I saw this one on ThredUp once that was a couple $100s, and I was like, oh my gosh, someday when I have adult money, I want to own that. That'd be really nice. I'd travel a couple times a year. That's what I thought of if I had literally all the money in the world. And that doesn't take billions of dollars. That is more than enough to make me happy. So no, I'm not jealous of them, because I don't want so much money that I am so empty inside that I have to shoot myself into space to get a little hit of dopamine, a little rush. I don't want that, because to get that much money, you can't get it without exploiting people, without hurting people. And even if somehow you did, if somehow you became the richest person on earth, or you got billions of dollars without hurting anybody, you paid your taxes, you paid your employees well, etc., etc., by just owning and hoarding that much wealth, you're taking it away from other people. With that much money, you could pay so many people's hospital bills. You could send so many kids to college and give them a chance at their dream. Like, there's so much more you could do. But instead, these dicks are shooting themselves inside bigger phallic-shaped objects into space instead of doing a damn good thing. And that makes me fucking angry. And it should make everyone else angry too. The level of inequality in this country and in the world is disgusting. And it directly has to do with these people hoarding wealth and resources. So that's where I'm going to leave it. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you would do if you had all the money in the world. If you didn't have to worry about money, tell me your dream life. Because, I don't know, it's nice to fantasize about, I guess. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. And yes, I have had the Bo Burnham song, the Jeffrey Bezos song, stuck in my head all week while doing the research for this video. Zuckerberg and Gates and Buffett, amateurs can fucking suck it.